Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday, the 7th of July. Bit later than planned, sorry. But here we are. It's Friday, the 7th of July, and this is 5, not 10, 5 Fact Friday. You can't fight the facts, and these are 5 verifiable pieces of information that I put the links to below where you're watching this now, and if not on Twitter, and if not on the Moving Home with Charlie website, which you can see there. Which is mhwc.co.uk/blog. All the 5 Fact Friday links are on there if you want to keep up. But let's get straight into this. So the title of this week is Everyone's Downsizing, because the more I look at the data everywhere, that is, I think, the best way to characterize what's happening. Perhaps more accurately, everybody's trying to downsize. A lot of people, on balance, more people trying to downsize than anything else. I think that is a pretty good summary of what's happening in the market at the moment. But let's start with fact number 1. The HMRC put out their monthly transaction statistics. Now, that's not the same as Land Registry, and it's not entirely helpful because it includes stamp duty transactions where there's a change of ownership within a family and then maybe stamp duty is required, and that's counted as a transaction, but it's not actually a sale of a property that came to market. So that's why these transaction numbers don't marry up perfectly with the Land Registry ones, but they are more up to date. What we do have is 100% of all the transactions that HMRC collected stamp duty on or had it waived on. So what we can see here is that in May 2023, non-seasonally adjusted, because that's actual numbers, and I prefer actual numbers, 25% lower than the same time last year. Now, when transaction volumes drop, it's 10% higher than April, okay? But that's just, yeah, okay, interesting, good. 10% more transactions recorded with HMRC in May than in April. I don't know if that's got to do with seasonality or not, but May compared to last May, 25% lower. Lower transaction volumes are a problem for everybody that wants to move. It's just not good. And we want transaction volumes to come back up. We do, but they're not. So that's fact number 1 that you can verify. The link to the HMRC website is right there. Fact number 2, fresh off the press this morning, the Halifax published its house price index, and talk about a mixed bag. But here we are. The average house price there, 285,000. Month on month is down a tiny bit, 300 quid. Quarterly up 3%, but annual, and this is what's made all the headlines today, a 2.6% fall year on year. Now, for those of you who've been watching my channel long enough, year-on-year figures are very, very laggy if you want to know what's happening at the coalface and what the trend is now. So the fact that they are showing a 2.6% drop when only month on month there's only a tiny drop shows you how different year-on-year figures are from month-on-month figures. But also, 1 month at a time on its own is no good. They've been trending down the last 3 months. But most importantly, the commentator, I think the most important thing that was said here is this. So this is the director of Halifax Mortgages said, how deep or persistent the downturn in house prices will be remains hard to predict. Consumer price inflation is likely to come down the near term, yes, as energy and food prices look set to reverse their steep rises, but core inflation is clearly proving stickier than originally expected, with markets now forecasting a peak in bank rate of over 6%. They're actually forecasting 6.5% and higher. The likelihood is that mortgage rates will remain higher for longer, and the squeeze on household finances will continue to put downward pressure on house prices over the coming year. So the Halifax are saying they're expecting downward pressure on house prices over the coming year, but they're hard to predict. Okay. Make what you will of that. Let's get on to fact number 3. Now, fact number 3 is very confusing, mixed bag of stuff. So this is the Zupa put out a story just yesterday saying almost 4 in 10, so 40% of UK homes register price falls over the last 6 months. That's weird. 6 months. Okay, so that's half. That's the first half of the year, by an average of 7,700. Okay, does that mean 6 in 10 went up? Well, it's a mixed picture, and this is where I think the downsizing comes into play. So I won't go through the whole thing here; it's too much detail, but I would recommend going to read it. It's interesting stuff. More than half of home values are still growing in the North and the Midlands. So more than half, over 50% of homes in the North and the Midlands have gone up in the last 6 months in value. It's saying. But more price falls in the South. But you get into it and it gets really sticky, and it depends on whether it's a big house or and there's where is it? The reality is, there was one more comment I thought was worth reading. I can't find it. But basically, what it's basically saying is that the bigger properties and the higher values are coming to market more and sticking longer. So there's less demand for the bigger properties. There's more demand for the smaller properties, which is why I think downsizing is a credible suggestion about what's happening over on the market, including a move from the south to the north as people are downsizing in value, but perhaps upsizing in size. We had someone on the private movers live stream last night thinking of moving from Essex up to Yorkshire just to get more space. So that's number 3. That's a weird one. It's an odd. It's not yearly. It's not monthly. It's half north south. But I think it's worth looking at that Zoopla house price report to see what it means for you. Whether you're upsizing or downsizing or north or south, you might be able to get something of use out of that. Now, this is more bad news for transactions, and falling transactions is bad news for everyone. There's nobody for whom falling transaction numbers is good news. This is just bad news. And this is Christopher Watkins' story. He does a weekly analysis of house prices and status changes of house prices. And go look at it. It's linked to below. It's on Property Industry Eye, the story. But here is the real headline here. Sale fall-throughs are 6,420. The running weekly average is 5,100. So that's a 23% rise in fall-throughs. That's for last week, right? And fall-throughs are, nobody wants fall-throughs. Fall-throughs are bad for everyone trying to move, and they're bad for people moving in the street. It's just bad. Fall-throughs are a lot of wasted time, a lot of wasted money, and they are spiking 23% in that week. So that's a fact from Chris. Now, next one is I'm going to be using the best agent. So this is my own data set. And what I want to point out here as the fifth fact of the week is the ratio between unsold houses. This is England. This is a snapshot as of 2 days ago. The total number of unsold homes. Okay, these are publicly listed. This is 100% of publicly listed homes for sale in England, not Wales or Scotland, just in England. Compared with, so the 647 compared with 123,000 homes showing as sale agreed. And that is more than 5 to 1 unsold to sold. So that's increased. The last time I reported on that fact, it was about 4 to 1. So it's now gone up to 5 to 1. So there's more and more stuff coming onto the market. So supply is increasing, and the number of deals happening is decreasing. Not by 25% in the last 3 weeks, but that's ignore that. Although it is decreasing significantly. All right. And for those of you interested in Wales, it's actually even worse. Instead of 5.2 to 1, it's 5.5 to 1. 9,500 homes unsold showing for sale, 1,700 showing as sold. All right. And I've got one more bonus fact for you that just came in this afternoon. HSBC, who only raised their rates, I think, yesterday, and now a day later saying they're going to be raising them again on Monday. And it is the jitteriness of the mortgage lending marketplace that is adding to fall-throughs, to deals falling through when nobody wants them to fall through. The buyer doesn't want it to fall through, the sellers want it to fall through, but by the time buyers have got prices agreed, they go back to the mortgage lender from whom they had an agreement in principle and say, right, I want to borrow, and the lender's gone, sorry, moving the goalposts, rates are changing. So this non-stop relentless change of rates on a weekly basis right now, as gilt yields spike and money market prices go up, is just creating a nightmare for everyone involved in people trying to move home. Buyers, sellers, agents, brokers. It's a nightmare trying to hold deals together. And this is why, by the way, back in January, I wrote this article, and right there, it was a list of all the things buyers are going to be facing. Jittery lenders, reduced budgets, and a Mexican standoff on price for sellers. That's why I knew that moving home was going to be very, very difficult in 2023. And even Phil Spencer on Sky News yesterday said, If he didn't have to, he probably wouldn't be moving right now. Nothing to do with prices, just the friction of the transaction process right now is very, very high. It's causing problems for agents. And when you've got a chain of transactions together, I've had a well-known property journalist contact me privately because their home move, they're actually trying to upsize, has just failed for the third time. For reasons because of things happening in the chain, forcing renegotiations throughout the chain. It's just a hair-pullingly difficult time for a lot of people. But definitely, I think the data shows that there are more and more properties coming on higher, and the downsizing is also having actually the interesting effect of showing that the median transaction price might be rising. But just remember that the average or the median transaction price, that's not, by the way, that price there is the median asking price of transactions that are being agreed. It doesn't show the actual agreed price. But as more and more people sell more expensive properties, it creates this rise in the average. It doesn't mean house prices are rising. That's a really important thing. If more people are selling bigger houses and less people are selling smaller ones, that doesn't mean house prices are going up. It means downsizing is happening. Very, very hard to tell for sure without going into the line by line of the land registry, which Alex Stig has done a little bit. But guys, oh God, it's 12 minutes. I meant to keep that under 10 minutes. I failed. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next week. Who is there, by the way? Do we have... yes, we've got some people in the chat. Quick hello to people in the chat. Reality Check, Shay, Anthony Huey, K-Art, 8888. Hi, guys. Craig Wood. Thank you for joining. Sorry for the lack of notice for this, but that's how it goes with Five Fact Friday. Cosima, hi there. St. Michael's Hill, hello. New name. James Ridley, Catherine Luger, 99. Nice to see you guys. Matthew Slate, nice to see you. John Brown. Guys, I'll see you next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye.